pleasure to relaunch the book in the company of many people involved in writing about the sport whose work I admire very much. I'd like to take a minute to perhaps explain why I think it's so appropriate to write about boxing with a modernist or an avant-garde methodology in poetry. My first experience of boxing as a participant really fulfilled my already existing understanding of boxing as a sport full of paradoxes. In the sense that when you watch boxing, it feels like it's so naturalistic to almost not be cognitive, that a boxer can slip a punch before they know that a punch is going to be thrown and then throw a punch back, all within a space so quick that they can't really cognate it. Well, that's something that is so difficult and different from the experience of actually trying to box. It's one of the most learned and specific skills, and everything that you think is naturalistic when you try to do it is completely wrong. You want to punch with your stronger hand first, you want to square your feet, and the experience is so phenomenologically rich, it just completely dislocates from the experience of watching the slickness and the beauty of a professional boxing match. And that paradox really leads into my exploration of how boxers seem to be represented as something other than the most willful and courageous people in our culture, people with such unbelievable dedication to something that doesn't reward them financially apart from the top 1%, who are essentially being booed if they get injured in the ring, and they've decided to take that physical strength and match it against people with equal physical strength, as opposed to picking on people in their local communities and feeling big because of that strength. And finally, perhaps the most exuberant and life-giving and energetic sport, which in its action is destroying the brain cells of the opponent. There is unbelievable and beautiful paradoxes at the root of the sport, and that's why I think it's really appropriate to write poems that are equally strange and complex, rather than trying to truncate and fix the sport in something lyrical or ode-like. So that explains why they're weird. That being said, I am going to read the more lyrical poems because I'm not going to do sound performances or visuality it's full of. The last thing I would also say is the book was written in 2010, 2011, and what's really remarkable about revisiting it now is that when I wrote 15 cycles about 15 boxers with 15 poems, some are dead, some are completely unrecognizable in their reputation from, I mentioned some people talking earlier, Kelly Pavlik, who was a hero, a building, a future star in waiting, to Gamboa, who's been knocked down, to Nathan Cleverly, who was once the great hope. The fragility of the boxer's repute is so unbelievably timely and temporal, so hopefully that comes through if you do actually get the book. So I'm going to start by reading a few poems from my Antonio Margarito cycle. Margaritaville. You, watching, aware, to turn professional at 15, fighting fully grown men in Tijuana, to speak now as they spoke then. He has the skin for boxing. He hardly marks, and a chin of granite, and fought then as he fights now. Oncoming echoes on. Oh, men who provide for their families by fighting, and work as hitters, and wake at 6 in the morning to run 10 miles. Those men born into hidings, fought into tears, broken to hit him and on to hit on him, as he starts slow as though on purpose, as to insist on hope as the minutes pass, to find themselves running on their bike before they hit, and in less room now, they rely on their fast feet, though feet hit nothing, and he smiles after they catch him, nods, and while this has been traditionally seen as a sign of weakness, a pale form of taunt, boxers laughing at their opponent's power when truly hurt, and so commentators bleat in the early fights, but he is not hurt, instead pleased, precisely because the others have seen men fall from similar punches does he grin so monstrously, no one weaker than they. Then, and without hurt, he's hitting now, chasing, almost running down his opponent, hitting hard but never to knock out, accurate, painful like bone sting, his punches to the ribs, the liver, the belly, eyebrows split, eyes ache, red swell, noses break, blood is spat, ears balloon, bleed, burst, hundreds of punches, an unrelenting volume punching, a blanket of needles, an electric net. You can see them struggle to breathe. The bravest of us panic, and he is grinning when they dig, passing the point of resilience. Customary digging struck rock, and they are dying in the ring. The strong of us drown in his embarrassing of men. There has been nothing to prepare them. As boys in war, they plead with their eyes and hands drop. Looked beyond the ring, our bodies so human that culture cannot believe the things never seen in the ring from fighters. to take a knee, to see their fathers intervene and save them. And he smiles, bounces on his toes, unmarked almost, the perfect skin for boxing. He has consumed something from them to take it with him onto the nets. A Tijuana gang murdered his brother the day before a fight, and he won that fight. There are men so strong at 15 they pound the ground trembling and smile wise. There are men so relentless they speak to death. This is a fan text poem called Nazim Richardson to Shane Mosley between rounds 4 and 5. Now listen, you landed some good shots up top, but we got to remember how this started. We set them up with the body shots. See, this guy ain't used to getting back in the body. Take that jab, keep popping him up, stab him in his heart, rip around them sides. We're going to show him how he got to slow down when he hit the pedal. There ain't going to be no gas there at the end. Your combinations, Shane. Nobody in this division hands as fast as yours. Run them combinations, knock the grease off this dude, and then swim without getting wet. Slide till you stick, slide till you angle. It's a minimalist poem from the Michael Katsidis cycle. Katsidis to Guerrero, April 9th, 2011. What are you looking at? This is an excerpt from my long poem about Jack Dempsey. I'm proud to be a Mormon, and ashamed to be the Jack Mormon that I am. The jailhouse roamer sing better to the birds when tattooed with poorly sick, needy folk. The folk raft would chatter, Jack off at 16 like me, running, travelling beneath trains, sleeping in hobo camps. However, it is folded into this stinking stitch, the shitty knife fights that Dempsey discovered a talent for fighting. And if you are boxcar tough, with a brother John Benny training you, you are tough. Sad John shot his own wife and then killed himself in a murder-suicide mourning, and desperate for money, Dempsey would visit saloons and challenge for fights, saying, I can't sing and I can't dance, but I can lick any son of a bitch in the house. This is from my Arta Abraham cycle. Lie. It wasn't because I liked fighting. No, just people said things to me which I feel the only reply was to hit them. Pride of Armenia, salvaging other people's poetry. One bark, a baby in Yerevan to this child, and I am insisting the still of attention. Avatic Abrahamian, he was not born after Abraham, unafraid of oceans. They say Hipponax, mug of a pugilist. Abraham is Hipponax reborn. He turns Germany, it and I and Ia, when decades fault were faulted, when they went to America, humble in his stilted English. The Americas like him, but he speaks 3 languages more than they. My mother can't watch my fight. It hurts her too much. Torn the term to hit, turn the term is lit, knocked out. You can hear Jermaine Taylor's wife screaming, is he okay? Is my husband okay? I mean, he looks dead. Hit so hard by Abraham, he looks dead. The gum shield winched by inch from his clenched teeth. He's not moving, though. In time, he does not die. This is from my Kelly Public cycle, from Maxims. Punching is not being hit. Punching encourages the production of white blood cells. Punching is unnatural. Grappling, that is throwing, and biting are its natural counterparts, and clearly lesser. Punching comes from pre-zero cultures. Punching is both private and personal, public and private, personal and public. Punching is a living. Punching requires hand bandages. Punching is memorable. If you are punched or punching, you remember. Punching is an enormously accurate translator. Punching is exposure without the dialogue. Punching exposes those mouthing impressions of talent. Punching refuses to understand certain questions and as such is a liberator, like a dog free of a leech are fists. Punching is all about angles to leave marks. Punching is surgery in that it causes bloodletting but doesn't disturb those immediately responsible, who witness too. Punching is poise before position. Punching is unconcerned with pronunciation, for it is speechless, though clearly not silent. My last poem is from my Edwin Valero cycle, so it keeps up with the half time. Death of the Fire God. Heaven and earth laboured, the crimson sea laboured, and in the sea the reed red laboured. From the reed's tip smoke rose. From the reed's tip flame rose, and in the flame a youth was run. He had hair of fire, a beard of flame, and his eyes were suns. What we do know, he would have rather died in the ring. Thank you very much.